back to what we have to talk about first thing this morning. We're taking a look at some of the major stories this week. It's been a very interesting week in the nation's capital. In fact, speaking of NEC meetings, there's another NEC meeting we'll do today. I think it's for the SDP. So it's the season of NECs. But joining us to talk about some of the major stories this morning, Professor Udenta joins us this morning, founding National Secretary of the Alliance for Democracy.
It's a pleasure to be with you once more.
Thank you.
I don't know whether you disappeared or whether I disappeared.
I don't know what happened. I really have no idea.
I'm happy we're back together.
Yeah, but what's good is that we're here.
We're here.
All right.
It's fantastic.
Next, let's start with the People's Democratic Party. One of the issues that people have had with the People's Democratic Party, we see them talk tough, but there's no actual discipline when it comes to it. There are people who have done all kinds of things. In the PDP, working for the APC, anti-party activity, vowing to support a candidate who is not from the party. These are some of the things that we're looking at the PDP and wondering, okay, wait, when you're talking about how you're consolidating, what about the discipline that is supposed to be involved when it comes to these sorts of situations? Are they just talking? Or are they going to make any impact this time? It's important to lay this issue before Nigerians. That's what we're doing here. We're not having a personal conversation. We are conversing, but for the interest of the Nigerian public. You know, the doomsday sayers or the naysayers concerning the PDP have been put to the sword, reasonably, put. Nobody thought the party would even get to where it is. And my passion for the PDP isn't because I'm a member. I'm not a member. It's because I belong to that legacy party generation. You said it, Alliance for Democracy National Secretary, 1998. That's when PDP was born. That's the last standing. My party imploded into pieces from AC to ACN, now to APC somewhere. Then APP, as then was, from AMPP to now APC. PDP is the only one standing with this brand and original name. That's the responsibility of Nigerians to rally around and keep that party as part of what they want around there. And it is happening. The party has issues. Let me break the issues down for you before I come to the neck that I had yesterday. Resoundingly a success. There were three tendencies in the party. The tendency, represented by those who are patriots, who want strategic autonomy for the party, want the party to stand as a party, to go for the next election on its own terms, to have a candidate that's going to give the APC president a run for his money. That tendency is marshaled by the chairman of the governors forum of the party, the governor of Bauchi State. You will see the political role has been playing. Whichever the meetings, was the main NEC meeting we had in the lodge of the Bauchi State government. Both the governors forum meeting, which is cheers, and then the caucus of the party, of course, is the conscience of the party, the overarching institutional framework the party will rely on to push it forward. That's where they do those critical decisions that led to a successful NEC. That is one tendency. There's a tendency of certain characters in the party who want the party to be diminished, to dissolve, and break up into pieces to benefit President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the APC in 2027. We know who the people are. There's no point in talking about them, but there's a tendency. Are they still in the party? They're being gradually being evacuated out of the party. We have the vacuum cleaner. You clean them out. The patriots are cleaning them out, and Nigerians are patriotically rallying down this tendency of keeping the party alive. Are they being vacuumed out, or are they leaving? Oh, no, because if you're entrenched as a mole, on this stage I talked about questlings. It's a term from the Second World War about generals who did well for their country but betrayed their country and suffered the pains of betrayal and treachery. They're there. Once you're planted in there to say you are not leaving, it simply means you are doing the bidding of somebody else, the president. And the party called APC. That's why you find defections and counter-defections all over the place to weaken this brand and other brands too, to make it easy for him for leisurely re-entry in 2027. There's another brand, there's another tendency. Those who do not want the party to survive, but they don't want to go to APC. This is what we talked about. The last group we talked about, it does feel like the president is winning in that regard. No, you see, there are... You don't think he is? As I said, there are three tendencies. The tendency of the patriots. As I said, marshaled by the governor of Bauchi State and other leaders, the party chairman, Jerry Ghana, the stakeholders who came, founders who came to rally around the party. There's a tendency of those who want the party to simply permeate itself into APC. There's another tendency of those who do not want to enter APC but want the party to decompose. You find some of them in ADC now. These are people you find as nomads in ADC from the PDP. Because if they remain in the PDP and fortify its ranks and win away the questlings, the party will become stronger. So the fact that you do not want to stay within the party in order to accomplish this noble objective means that you have some other intent. We'll come to that later if you're going to present that issue of ADC. Yes. Now, if you have a NEC of a party that has successfully covered by INEC, by 5 INEC officials from what I learned, monitored it, you find the party resolving on the date and location of this convention,
specific dates, specific locations, sitting 15th, 16th of November. Then you find a party going to rebrand itself upon the election of new officers to put to rest the factionalizations and polarizations and so on, and recriminations of the past. The party will take from that November to the end of December to reaffirm its ranks because already a built-up infrastructure across the country.
Let's talk about the zoning of the presidency to the south. And I have to do this, right? So let me explain to you.
Okay.
When it comes to the zoning to the south, there are many people who are looking at the party and thinking, how? Which southerner is going to beat President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027? Some people think that was a very dicey move. And saying, look, even though you know, we're looking at a presidency that's supposed to be zoned to the south for the next 8 years. The truth is, for many people, that you know, you're not going to get a candidate from there who can beat this man. Why don't you go to the north?
Let me put it this way. Election will be held on around February, March 2027.
Yes.
This is July 2025. We're making this conversation now rather than governance, rather than policies, because the president and his team panicked. What we're doing is what we're doing a year plus down the line. So it is, the time frame is enormous in politics. A day is a lifetime to talk about the zoning. PDP will do that before the convention. If they take it to the south, be rest assured, a southern candidate, here and there, we beat this president convincingly and resoundingly in the next election. We can do the mathematics later, not in this program. Invite me on a special program to do the demographic breakdown and the geography of power in the country, and I'll prove to you why it is even almost impossible for a northerner to be the sitting president from a majoritarian ethnic group.
So one of the questions people have about the zoning issue is also the fact that, hold on a second, former President Muhammadu Buhari has died, and many people keep talking about that cult following he had. There are arguments as to whether it was real or not, of course, but, you know, consolidating on northern votes, because it's almost become like a consensus in this country that you can't win the presidential election without the north. Okay, let's put it this way. It wasn't a need, because empirically the record is there from 2003, 2007, 2011, and 15 when he won. INEC has the record. We have the public to see how many votes have they been able to garner in the north. Between 9 and 12 million votes. They're genuine votes. They're real. Whether they have, dispersed into tiny tributaries of power here and there with this exit, only time will tell in 2027. But the critical issue that the north, is immensely diverse geographies. If you look at what happened in 2023, a southern candidate with very little apparatus behind him, P2B, did well in FCT. I think he beat the other party in FCT. Beat them in Nasarawa State. That's north. FCT is substantially north anyway. Nasarawa State, Benue State, Plateau State. Did well in Taraba, did well in southern Kaduna. But that's actually the minorities of the north and the Christian geography of the north and so on. What is left was even left in that, that war of attrition or insurgency he mounted is how do you now move into the into the Fulani corridor from Sokoto Caliphate down and move into the Burundi corridor, the Kanuri corridor. That's what is left. As we, the party, represent such a candidate and supplies that missing link from the Kanuri corridor and the Fulani corridor, Northwest corridor, Northeast corridor, to make up for the deficiencies of that pizza movement that maybe stops somewhere in the middle belt. That's going to be a resounding success for such a party. So what the PDP needs to do is a strategic zoning. Strategic recomposition of his own understanding of power to say you have a certain president, and the moral imperative is that you should have a servant to complete that tenure until 2031, when the North will come back again and take what belongs to the North. That's how a young nascent democracy should function. How do you combine competence, efficiency with inclusion, with this kind of multiple geographies and zoning arrangement there and rotation of power to keep the elite, happy in a unified form and the people carried along in an inclusive format? That is why the PDP, NEC and Coming Convention is very important, and I should be on it. Right,
strategic zoning.
Let's move on to the APC.
Okay.
A new national chairman for the APC. A very peaceful election that they did. Yeah. They've been patting themselves on the back, saying, "Look, see how organized we are. See how we got a national chairman."
Let me tell you.
And moving into the North Central, acquiescing to the questions people have been asking about where the national chairman of the APC should come from. So Mr. Nentawe, Professor Nentawe, has been picked. And they feel like they're really ready, the APC. They're positioning themselves. They seem pretty organized.
Okay.
They're swelling in their ranks.
Okay, ranks.
And they said they're going to be able to stay in power even longer than 2027.
Okay, the way the second claim PDP made for 1,000 days.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Now, sometimes we talk about peace of the graveyard.
Is that what this is, the peace of the graveyard?
You've spoken. Let me answer the question. The peace is composed of certain elements. Robust peace that is active and alive. And the peace of the graveyard, a product of plutocratic construct of power. We have a plutocrat, almost like somebody with a divine way to power, with omniscient presence. Says, my will must prevail. And every minion, including the Senate president, the speaker, and party leaders, will cower in fear and fright. We have a Dan Gandhi, a former chairman, that slunk into oblivion because he said he was sick. We don't know. Then they have now, as Mobe said, it wasn't like an irregular choice or an unexpected choice. This fellow was INEC National Commissioner for years. And they say he superintended 7 critical states and elections. So you had to have somebody who should have played a role, as an umpire that is objective, impartial, and above board, being now curated and meandered into the party as a chairman with all the tricks up the sleeve of INEC. Yet I know whether INEC has a good institutional reputation or not. So if INEC is obscure and anonymous, that's what we can say for sure. But that obscurity is to hide that identity as an INEC National Commissioner. It's important we deposit it here. So a plutocratic presidency, an INEC commissioner coming to be a chairman of a ruling party is a recipe for disaster for the country. So we talked here on this stage here about hybrid regime, emasculating in multi-party democratic development.
Alluding to are you saying that there might be collusion as a result of the fact that he has that INEC background? Are you saying that there will be collusion when it comes to votes?
It is for Nigerians here watching me and you to say, you have an obscure individual, relatively unknown, names I can't even pronounce, who they now brought out from obscurity and anonymity and took him above his peers as national chairman, because as an imperial president and imperial presidency that should pretended it. But then there is something as a subtext. National Commissioner for INEC, pretending 7 states, fact-check me, in the past. And there were critical elections in those states there. He has a lot of institutional tricks of INEC up his sleeves. That's part of the condition for hiring him. I'm not talking about collusion in waiting. Collusion has already occurred between the ruling party that is insensitive, to democracy, emasculating opposition.
His name, so I want to be able to. Professor Nentawe Goshwe Yilwada.
We will learn it.
Yes.
No, listen,
we'll learn it.
We'll learn it down the line. You see, but we know why such obscurity.
Minister of Humanitarian Affairs.
Oh, he was okay. These days.
And did a lot of work. Remember, hold on a second. Remember when he became minister, a lot of people were worried, because of the mess that Humanitarian Affairs was in at the time. And he did come in and bring in some sanity.
On this here, our dear sister who fled to Lagos, and I agree with you, we should bring her back here.
Yes,
we didn't move her back here. Said, an unlikely choice. You see, that means even as a minister of humanitarian affairs, he's not no number. Okay, he does his job, maybe he's efficient in his field there. But in terms of national aura, the potency of that national presence you require for such a huge political position, it's enormous responsibilities.
INEC just the spokesperson of INEC just sent a message here, and he wants me to give this message. He says, "Hello, Kayla. The new APC chairman was a resident electoral commissioner.
Oh, resident,
and not a national commissioner, as your guest is claiming."
Okay, fine.
Yes,
commissioner. Okay, in several states, not only one state, in several states. I heard he moved around. Can you let him talk to you again? Say, did he move around several states? Because when he got experience as a resident commissioner of INEC, as the national commissioner, they're the same. The thing is that you're in one state, but if you moved across several states where elections must have held over time, you accumulate experience. You're part of that infrastructure of INEC leadership, whether national commissioner, whether electoral commissioner.
He does seem like a fresh face, doesn't he? He is a fresh face.
The key thing is that
he's a fresh face. Everyone has been talking about Mr. Professor Yowada's Mien, and he's a technocrat, a professor.
We don't know much about it. We know about his INEC.
It does. In many people believe that this will change the face of how we view politics.
No, I'm
having someone who's a technocrat, who's a little bit more calm and educated and technical in the way you do things.
Okay, like I said, the sense of that obscurity and anonymity is pervasive, and it will erode over time. Because being thrust into the limelight, we make that evaporate over time. For now, we know him as INEC official. who was there for years in INEC, helping with INEC, churning around. We don't know when it was in 2023. The election was a mess. Was he a visiting electoral commission in 2023? When there was a manipulation, so many people thought about the electoral process.
You must admit, though, that as a party, this was a good choice.
Oh, no, I don't. I'm saying
I mean, I know that you've shown your hand politically. we know where you stand politically. But when it comes to the All Progressives Congress, let's be objective now. Come on.
Okay, now.
Was this
let me put it this way. The objectivity I can bring on this table, which is what I bring on the table, is that the obscurity of the individual is well plotted. So as you take it away, that's why INEC responded instantly. The Professor somewhere who was his VC didn't respond. The technocratic environment didn't respond. INEC responded because they know that the key reason why they appropriated him from INEC and put him there as a minister, now us, and he was a good candidate of APC. As a former INEC, the electoral commissioner. Do you know the implication?
I thought what your criticism about him was going to be really was the fact that some people have said
the moral imperative
some people have said that the professor lost an election in his
No, I'm not bothered about.
You don't care about that.
No, I'm not bothered about. I'm bothered about the fact that they brought an INEC official as a candidate of the party. They brought an INEC official as a minister of the Federal Republic. They brought an INEC visiting commissioner as the chairman of the party. Part of the role of him as a chairman of the party to deliver his party in the next election. He will call up. He's an enormous contact. Look at one of the contacts from INEC. Already talking about this fellow was a electoral commissioner. They know themselves. The chairman of INEC knows it. The next one will even know him. That is what is key for Nigerians to understand today. That this choice from the plutocratic presidency, who seems to know it all, to create and propel an obscure INEC official to this limelight is something that is going to savage further our democratic tradition.
All right, but just so we can put that clearly, the new APC chairman was a resident electoral commissioner and not a national commissioner.
Oh, same.
So resident electoral commissioner. So it was a rec. All right, so let's move on now to another story that's been making the rounds, the Labour Party.
Okay.
So, like the People's Democratic Party, for many Nigerians, we're angry.
Oh, sure.
For many Nigerians, we're angry at parties like the Labour Party and angry at parties like the People's Democratic Party. And why is this? It provided an alternative. And something that we thought would be, at least parties that we thought would be able to put the ruling party's foot to the fire, get them to sit up knowing that, look, at least for the Labour Party, felt like a lot of young Nigerians were in support of that party. For the People's Democratic Party, it was a legacy party. A lot of nostalgia when we think about the People's, when those founding fathers came together. I mean, people had tears in their eyes looking at Professor Jerry Ghana and a lot of these were the people that formed our thought process.
That's why they're back.
So watching these parties disintegrate and have all of these issues is pretty disappointing for the Nigerian people. But I want to get your thoughts on the Labour Party crisis and this interim leadership that they've got going right now.
Okay, fine. The parties are not disintegrating. They are reforming themselves.
They're reforming themselves.
Listen, parties,
they're emptying into either the ABC or the APC.
Listen. Parties are dynamic formations. And these formations aggregate and reaggregate over time. PDP is rebranding itself with more efficiency, more focus. Sometimes when they have burdensome load, when they have characters who are no longer part of the party's vision, you let them off or they go off on their own. There are those who are searching with instantaneous glory, who are looking for a solution to their problem. It could be moral problem. It could be crisis of governance. It could be anything. There's enormous pressure from the ruling party that has disastrously run this country aground. So rather than focusing on APC to run this country, as the way they want to run the country, they are rather permitting other parties in order to destabilize them. I'm happy PDP has gotten its ranks together, got its act together, had a successful neck, going to do a convention that will be sounding successful too. I hear the Labour Party and former running mate of PDP is actually moving from one pillar to other of the party, trying to see whether the party can come back together on board, whether the factions can dissolve into one. These are all part of the political processes, of the ferment in the political system. The election is still far away. So there's not the election in the next 2 or 3 or 4 months. Their convention that will produce candidates of these parties, including that of APC, is almost a year away. A year is a lifetime in politics.
So a lot can happen.
A lot time. PDP will have enough time to not only retool its ranks and rebrand itself, but become more efficient and much more coherent and cohesive. Labour Party may actually achieve the same purpose. ADC, in spite of its congenital abnormalities in terms of its formation, may shed some of those load and become something even stronger down the line. APC, with this bloated, flatulent self, full of gluttony, when you've overeaten, overgrabbing here and there, could implode. somewhere down the line.
You're saying it as though the PDP wasn't in that situation.
Oh well, I mean, maybe that's why the party blooded somewhere.
Because at some point you were turning members away.
I know that's why the reason the party couldn't survive for long as a dynamic whole. APC is in that formation now. You find people countering themselves. You find people creeping here and there. You find the party's appetite almost excessive and almost, how do I describe it, unforgiving. So flatulence is when you have this belly and tummy over bloated, as APC currently is. A time will come when the enormity of what you have stuffed in, dismantling democratic infrastructure of the country, limiting possibilities of democratic governance, chasing the media, running rebel ground, when all these things are too much for you.
We have 1 more minute, and I want to get your thoughts on the coalition.
The coalition?
The ADC, we heard some of the statements that the president made yesterday. And statements that we've heard people make about the ADC, I'm not going to use those.
The key thing.
Should the APC be scared?
The key thing about ADC is to even look at the statement like somebody like Bala Mohammed made, Governor of Bauchi State. He said, some of the PDP members who have shown some nomadic tendencies or misguided tendencies and moved to ADC may find their way back. Some of them may not. Like I said, if your mindset is there to seek for power somewhere else outside the original party you belong to, you will stick there, you will survive there, you will swim and sink with it. ADC's story is a story in the making. It's a story that is evolving. We don't know how the final chapter will be written. That final chapter will be written between now and the next presidential convention, which is going to be around May, July.
Stand a chance, the ADC?
We don't know. For now, PDP for me stand the best chance. If it does a proper zoning that is strategic enough.
You think the PDP stands the best chance than the ADC?
If the PDP does proper zoning that is strategic and foresighted, knowing where the geography of power lies today in Nigeria, which is where the president is from, the party will win the next election. Absolutely.
But the ADC?
ADC, as I said, is an unformed entity for now, structurally speaking, in terms of limited infrastructure across the country. Let us watch and see how these elements, coming from various dimensions, will come together and then decide what's going to be the fate of that party in the next 5, 6, 7, 8 months. Only time will tell.
All right. I'm going to toss it to Lagos. I think Markwe has a few things that she needs to ask you. Go ahead, Markwe.
Well, thank you, Kayla. Just very quickly, I find it very interesting, Professor Udenta, that you're very insistent on this APC chairmanship, the new chairman being from INEC. It's interesting that this objection did not come up when he was minister. For those who are watching, they'll think, oh, he just came from INEC and then became the APC chairman. But a number of people need to remember that there have been quite a few steps where he has shown that he's already clearly partisan within the APC, running for office, and then being minister in this particular cabinet before becoming chairman of the All Progressives Congress. Why are you very insistent on showing this INEC credential of the chairman of the APC?
Well, this is why I'm very insistent. I'm very insistent. On air here, you spoke about an unlikely choice, maybe because he was a minister, maybe a professor, maybe a technocrat, or maybe because he's not well known. You see, 30-something odd years ago, the ministers of even Babangida as a military president are very well known to us. The people like, like Ransom Kuti, people like Bodeja Kinyemi, people like Kadu Dikakalu. I can keep on naming the names. The last 2, 3 years, we don't even know where the ministers are. That is why Nigerians are possibly in a relative state of shock. First minister, okay, fine. Because where be doing what his ministry in a small space he's occupying? That's the chairman of a party. So he was an obscure political element, an anonymous political being, and being elevated to this position. We have to dig into his history. The most potent part of that history is that he was INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner. I've been corrected from being a national commissioner. I accept that. But national commissioner, REC, the same. His choice is deriving by the fact that he's very familiar with INEC, coterminous with institutional, embeddment within INEC, understands the logic of INEC, and is a party to lead them to power in 2027. That's why they chose him to become the chairman of the party. The INEC relationship, INEC institutional association is key to understanding and dismantling or deconstructing his own personality. That is the most critical thing for anybody to understand. I do know that he was a minister, and very many Nigerians cannot even name 6, 7, 8 of the ministers available, either of the Buhari regime or 8 years, and this one for 2 years and. But I do know the name of the chairman of the political parties, the big parties, the middling parties, and even the small parties. So when he jumped from being a minister, that's why he resigned as a minister. If the job as a minister is bigger than that of a party chairman, he was simply a minister president. Allow me to continue doing the work I'm doing as your minister. This is a massive call. a big one to do, and that is why he jumped for it. And why did they pick him? He was a resident commissioner for INEC for several years and covered so many states. That is what Nigeria should focus on. If I were the leaders of the opposition parties, this is where my own line of agitation is going to fall on.
All right, then. I think it's a fine place to leave it. That clarification has been made. And, well, we'll wait to see if there'll be a response by the All Progressives Congress on that particular allegation. Because what you seem to be suggesting is that there could be a sinister plot for INEC.
It's not an allegation. He was a wreck. It wasn't an allegation. He was a wreck.
No, what I'm saying is that, yes, the fact that he was a wreck, you seem to be insinuating that him being a wreck, there could be plans for INEC, I mean, from the All Progressives Congress, from the ruling party.
I'm not insinuating. I'm saying that he was choosing. I'm saying that he was choosing carefully, curated from obscurity to this high position because of the INEC background. Part of it.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not going to be as a master of the universe with all the knowledge.
So
it's part of the reason why they created him.
I'm clarifying that your insinuation is that as a result of his background knowledge of the workings of INEC, that perhaps you are suggesting that there could be a plan, an untoward plan perhaps for INEC come 2027. Is that what you're suggesting?
Let me ask you. You're a very brilliant media person. I know that. I've been on conversations with you for a long time. If in the next 5, 2, 3, 4 years' time, they pluck you from this beautiful channel to somewhere you're going to do strategic communication for an entity, am I going to ask you a question whether they picked you there because of your deep knowledge of the media and strategic communication? Sure, that's the reason why. So I'm not insinuating anything. He was an INEC wreck, covered several states, superintended elections, mass knowledge. And we know INEC as an institutional establishment has a lot of moral disorders, and ethical challenges. So somebody who is a prime element within that body to now become the chairman of the ruling party, there's no way can divorce the two. So it's for the party to now separate it. But Nigerians have already understood why this choice was made.
All right, it's back down to you, Kayla.
All right, well, it's a very interesting one. I know that a lot of responses are going to come out from what you're saying today.
I'm ready for that response.
Are you ready?
On this stage.
Because someone just sent me a message. Can I give you questions someone asked me?
I don't have time to deal with it.
Ask Professor Udenta, if the man is so embedded in INEC and able to be... Why didn't they rig his election in Plateau State and make him governor? If he was in the APC and still had that connection to INEC, how come he lost the election in Plateau State?
The answer is a simple one. When a party is completely absent in a state, APC was absent in Plateau State during that last election for obvious strategic reasons and reasons of geography, and faith and identity within there. It will be criminal even to try because the bloodshed that will occur will be massive. So then people read where they are relatively strong, where they get away with it. They couldn't have reached where they could have gotten away with it. In Plateau, it was impossible to rig him. And I do know that the processes that produced him even as a candidate, because I've been digging in, was a little bit flawed. We know who the former governor was that papped him, and when that governor left office as a minister, he brought him on board as a minister. Now they have now shepherded him into this high position from the relative obscure position he was occupying. But then,
well, Professor Nentawe Goshwe Yilwada, who is the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress right now, he has a right of reply. So with time, I'm sure there'll be some kind of response.
As I said, Kelly, on this stage on this matter and any other matter,
yes,
I'm here available.
Okay.
Pick a phone and call me for the reply.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for being with us this morning, Professor Udenta Udenta, founding National Secretary of the Alliance for Democracy.
It's a pleasure to be with you as always. Thank you.
We've got a short break, and when we come back, we've got more conversation. This time, it's got to do with health. Stay with us.